All right, all right. I hope you're able to hear audio from my computer because I just had to try to fix that. It's being a little wonky as usual. Oh, did I accidentally switch back? Yes, I did. Okay. Oh, I am missing my glove, aren't I? See, I can never be 1,000% ready, or even 100% ready, for that matter. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, well, there goes that. So you can see I have my device, or the iPad's, the pieces settings on the screen, so you can see what I'm going to be working with today. I still don't know exactly what I'm going to draw. I have an idea of working with something. I've been volunteering at my daughter's school for the past couple of days. Not for the past couple of days, twice. I volunteered twice in the past month. And we've been going over digital art with the kids in the art class there. And there's some concepts that I notice that they're hard to understand for someone who is just getting into digital art, because the terms don't mean much to you when you first start. And you do have to have some knowledge of where they come from, at least just to get the concept and to know how to use it. So I kind of wanted to do some of that today. See if maybe I could come up with something that uses masking and clipping masks, and see if there's a trick that I know how to do, or that I learned to do on Photoshop a really long time ago, so that you can draw on your line art if you scan the photo or scan the drawing that you've done. That way you can color on the line art without messing up the drawing and without having to put the line art on a multiply layer. It makes it really easy to color the line art, especially if you're able to really edit the drawing so that you can get really, really crisp colored lines and not have to worry about using multiply layer, maybe not getting the exact colors that you want. So I think I'm going to do that today. But I will be right back, just because I do need to get my drawing glove, because otherwise, even though I do set my iPad to ignore hand inputs when I'm drawing, it really makes a difference to have a glove. I do find myself that even with a glove, sometimes I still touch the screen when I don't want to, especially when I'm putting a lot of pressure on I'm drawing on it. Mainly, almost all the time, it's when I'm trying to lean my hand on the screen with my pinky. I'll put my pinky down and then draw, and the pinky inevitably touches the screen, no matter how much I try for that not to happen. So, in the meantime, if you're one of the kids in my daughter's class, welcome. Thank you for following. You didn't have to follow. I appreciate the follow. You guys are more than welcome to ask questions on digital art while you're watching, or send me questions. I do have my website posted there at the bottom if you guys want to send me an email to. It's gibbygabs@gmail.com. And I'm more than happy to show you guys some stuff on during the streams if there's stuff that you want to see. And if you want to suggest anything for me to draw, I know we did have some fun with the 7th grade class there, doing some really crazy photo manipulations. That was very fun. And if you guys want to send me your art and we'll go over it here on the stream, I would love to do that. That would be so much fun. So again, you can send it to me to my email. Just let me know if I have permission to show it on the stream. And if you want me to discuss it on the stream, I can give you guys credit too. That's fine. And we'll go from there. But I will be right back. I'm just gonna go and grab my glove because that makes a big deal for me. All right, be right back. Baby, I forgot the glove. I forgot the glove. Let me get it.
Elizabeth, he's like, yeah, I know. We're like, oh.
We know your mother's dreams. Oh my god, stop. Right, if you're gonna go out with her, you close the door, because they can't see you if you walk in through here, but once you get here, this is like camera area. Yeah, this keeps the door not super close, but relatively close. She can still come in though, which is fine. Alright, I got my glove. That's, if you were wondering what kind of glove I have, I just have like one of the cheapest gloves I found on Amazon. But this one did come with two, and it was supposed to be reinforced here on the side. So I don't know if you can see, there's an extra seam here, and that's because there's a second layer of fabric on the inside to give it more thickness so that it's less likely to sense my hand there, and even then it still does it. So I'm probably gonna have to disconnect for a second because I did have to put the pen to charge. This iPad is getting a lot of use lately. But before I do that, let me okay, so I have it in airplane mode. Let me go to the drawings that I was working on last week. So I was making some drawings based on my cat. I think I have the reference available here. I have to minimize all these other windows, otherwise you won't be able to see it. Oh. Come on, go away, go away. Oh, I really do need to get my second screen. I have my second screen in storage. Alright, where are we going here? There's my reference. We're gonna open. Oh no, I didn't save it. Okay. That makes sense. I always forget to save these things. But I did have some photos up last week that I was using to draw my kitty cat. These are all just photo references. One in particular where she caught a lizard, and thankfully the lizard survived. But it was very much hanging out of her mouth. It wasn't this big. I'm exaggerating, okay? Don't accuse me of exaggeration. I know I'm exaggerating. It was quite smaller, but obviously it looks so much more fun when you draw really big. So I think what I want to do is, I really like this cat design that's here. I really like it, and I kind of want to turn it into a sticker. I would like to be able to do it with multiple patterns and designs just overlaid, and I think that's going to be great to use masking for and to really show how masking works. So I'm going to do that now. Yes, maybe. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to group these layers. And I think to be able to do, I haven't done this in some time, so forgive me if I forget, but I think what I need to do is duplicate it. Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I had enough layer space here, but if you click and hold the layer group and you drag it out, then with my other finger, I'm going to press gallery, and I'm going to go to the new drawing that I have, and I'm going to tap on that, and I'm just going to drop it here. It should drop all those layers. It may take some time, just a little bit of time. It may also crash. That has happened to me in the past. I'm waiting. This is nerve-wracking. I think by now I should give up. It shouldn't take this long. Alright. I don't want to have to do it layer by layer. I think that's what is going to end up having to happen. Oh no, there they are. Well, that's weird. Okay, let's exit. Let's go back in here. Oh no. A cat visitor. Hold on. I have to turn off my keyboard because otherwise she steps all over and then things happen. Oh wow, this entire time I realized I had my mic off. Okay. So I'm going to repeat what I've been saying. I want to work on that cat piece that's there, that I showed, because I kind of want to make stickers out of it. I want to be able to make multiple designs of the same shape, but with different patterns. So I think that's really going to work to be able to do that. Also, that is a drawing that I worked on during my last stream last week, and I have a little cat running around here. And there she is. This is the cat. This is the culprit. This is the same one that I drew. You see? I drew you. That's you. I know. Oh, he's smelling my finger. Alright. I'm gonna put you in the back. You can... There's a little top of a cardboard box that she likes to sit on. Not now, though. Okay. I'm gonna move this away because I know you're gonna knock this stuff down. I know you. Alright. But yeah, so I want to make stickers of that. And what I was trying to do was duplicate these layers over to the old piece, but I'm not exactly sure why it doesn't work when you duplicate a group over. I have had more success with individual layers, so maybe that'll work. So let's see if I duplicate the group, and I'm duplicating it because I don't know if it's going to remove it from this original piece. I don't want to mess with those. I want to be able to keep these. So if I bring them over to the other side and it erases them, I would rather not. So this is a little easier. And then to select multiple layers, you do is you swipe on the layer towards the right with one finger. And there we go. So we're going to grab them, drag them out, tap gallery, tap the artwork that I want to put them in, and then just drop them over. And hopefully it doesn't crash this time, because last time it did. Well, everything seems okay. I see all my layers. I see duplicate layers. That's interesting. Let's go back out and back in. Oh, I see what happened. It added them in reverse. Okay. So let's delete all of these duplicates. And let's rearrange them here. So that's supposed to be... Okay, that's the layer coloring. The image. This is the blank layer that came with when I opened the document. I'm just going to bring them down. Oh, yeah, that goes there. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to delete that sketch because I don't need it anymore. That was when I originally was coming up with this. I already know what I'm drawing. So I'm going to group these. I'm going to rename it original. And what I was saying before was that I forgot to charge my pen. So I'm going to have to disconnect this for a second so that I can have the pen connect again. So there it goes. Oh, that's not bad. That'll get me through. Let's see if it goes back. Should reconnect. There it is. Alright, cool. So alright. Let's make this a little bigger now. If you're not aware, Procreate is a raster image based program, which means what it does is that when you resize photos, you'll lose a lot of that definition, especially if you're enlarging. This file is a printable file, trying to get as high quality a canvas as possible. So yeah, it's 11 by 8.5, and it's 300 dots per inch. That's the DPI, which means when I print it, it's going to be good quality. If you want excellent quality, you're going to go for 600 DPI, which is good in a way, because 600 DPI, if you print it larger than the file that you made it, you'll still get some good quality. In fact, depending on the type of paper you print, you might actually get perfect quality, but I don't need it that big. These stickers, I'm not planning on making them huge. So I'm going to actually draw it the size of the sheet, at least here, because then I'll be passing this over to Photoshop to do a layout for a sticker sheet. So I'm going to increase the size of this here. You're going to see though, when I zoom in, it's just going to be blurry. And you can compare. That's weird. There. You can compare it to some of my brushes. Wait, why isn't it? Oh, do I have to? Oh, that's what it's asking me. It's asking me to select the layer to draw on. Okay. Yeah. That's a clean line. This is a brush pen. Like you can see the difference here with how smooth that line was compared to the other one. Now, this one wasn't a good example. This is actually, it's meant to look a little scratchy, which I do like. But we're gonna go with this brush. This is a blunt end. It doesn't have that much of a taper compared to this one. And I like it for doing my main lines, not for detail line art. So if you give me just 1 second here. I'm not going to be using my reference, so I'm going to actually hide that. There we go. Okay. Oh, that's what happened. See, I'm wondering why I have like so many windows open. God, I'm gonna turn. I use Restream, so I can stream to both YouTube and Twitch. I'm not a fan of it. I honestly don't think I like it that much. Particularly because I don't think I get the right data from it. Yeah, I don't think there's a way I can even pop out the chat, is there? Oh, yeah, there is. Okay. It's just a new window. Okay, that way I can see it. Because otherwise I have to keep these windows up and then I can't see what I'm actually drawing. Alright. Cool. So, this was just like a rough pencil color of the thing, just because I wanted to add some color on it quick. That's actually a good way of showing this. So, with this layer, with this piece, what I did, I'm going to put a different color background so you can see the difference here. Pink is very commonly used, especially hot pink, to sort of cover your background while you're adding flats, because it's really easy to see when you miss a certain area. I really like it for that. So I normally use pink or cyan, but cyan sometimes can be a little too bright, and then if you switch over to pink, you'll realize you did still miss some areas. So the first thing that I did here, and I don't think I worked on this one during the stream, I might have done this one after, so I'll go over it anyways, but the first thing I did here is, obviously, I erased my sketch so you can't see it anymore, but I did my line art, right? And you can see there's areas where I left gaps. So I can't just drop in color. It's a really nice feature of Procreate. I really like it. I find it very fun. But you can't always do that. Sometimes, like this, I like to have my line art loose. You can't drop color. So something that I do is sometimes I'll get a color, which is, in this case, this sort of like pale, very pale gray that I selected, and then maybe I'll go over the entire outline of the drawing, go around like that, and then once I'm okay with what this looks like, or every once in a while I'll close in a circle and I'll drop in a color. And essentially I completed the entire image like that. There you go. And once I did all of that, I got to here, right? So now I have a base. This isn't the flats layer, this is a base, right? So once you have your your base color, you're gonna do your flats on another layer, and using the clipping mask option, what that does is essentially allows that layer to only show through based on the layer below. So it only shows the areas where it overlaps on the layer below, when there's content on the layer below. So in this case, all of the flats, all of that flat base layer that I did on the bottom, anything there is going to show through. I can move this layer and still get what I did, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it there. And I did the same thing with the eyes. Now the eyes I wouldn't have to worry about normally, because I'm not worried about going over the lines, and you know, with the clipping mask, I'm not worried about it coming out like that. But let's say I was doing a 3/4 view, and maybe you do get to see some of the eye. Maybe it's a little more important to use clipping mask there. But for the sake of this piece, just to keep everything together, I'm gonna put it as part of the clipping mask. So on top of that, then I also added some very bright opaque white highlights, because I really like how that makes everything pop up. And I was going to continue to add more colors, but I was also going to continue to work on this sort of like shading that I have on it. I'm going to use my shader just to sort of, I'm going to use it to blend. Oh, that's very small. Oh, and that's a trick. I don't know if... I know not everybody knows this, the little shortcuts in Procreate, which in one way it's kind of fun, like finding the little shortcuts around as you're learning to use the program. But in another way, it can be so daunting to open up a program, and especially when you've used digital art programs before, where you have sort of everything at your disposal. You can see all your icons everywhere, and you know exactly, or you have a good idea of exactly where you need to go to get a certain effect, certain look. And then you open up Procreate, and everything's sort of hidden, and you have to find it. So that can be a bit of a nuisance. What I'll do is I'll start going over some of the shortcuts a little more, and just saying what I'm using. So one of these shortcuts that are really helpful is when you're using a brush that you really like. For example, in this case, this is a nice pencil brush. I get a really nice textured pencil effect. And I'm going to use the same brush to erase, because I don't want to erase out the effect. You can hold and tap and hold the eraser tool, and that switches the tool and gives you the same brush that you're using. So I just did that, and now I can erase with that same pencil brush, which is really helpful in something like this, where maybe I do want to erase and just continue that same sort of like for a pattern, but with the same brush, and not maybe maybe not paint it white, just sort of brush it in or erase it in. Right, so this is good if you're doing something like a chiaroscuro and you're working with black and white values. This really helps with that. Oh, and you can also do the same thing with the smudge tool. So if I press and hold the smudge, it now allows me to smudge with the same brush that I was using. And then you can use the opacity slider to really control how hard you want that smudger to work. So for example, here you can see that I have it not at 100%, like at 20, 30 something. But if I increase it, now it just sort of goes everywhere. It gets really blurry. I don't want that effect. I still want to preserve some of the texture, so I'm going to lower it. But that was just to show you guys sort of what I was going for. But if I'm going to do a sticker out of this, specifically this image, because I expanded and I sort of increased the size of the original sketch, which was so much smaller, I have to draw it all over again, which is okay. Sometimes it's a nuisance, but in this case, it lets me rework areas that I wasn't too confident in at first. But it also, I want to simplify it. Because for a sticker to look the way I want it to, I want it to be a little simpler. I don't want it to be so difficult to read. So I'm going to actually delete these color layers and leave just this. And now I'm gonna pick really nice, smooth. No, I'm gonna go back to my janky brushes because I want my janky brushes. So I'm gonna actually, I'll duplicate this stack and then I'm gonna flatten a copy so that I can lower the brightness. And then on this layer, I'm gonna do my lines. And something that I learned from printing some of my test stickers, which I'll show you right now, actually. Put them on my sketchbook here. These look really faded, and that's because I like to use really pale and non-saturated colors. So they look pale and non-saturated, but they look, it's a much stronger effect than I expected. I think it could be the paper, not 100% sure. I do have to try some of the shiny glossy paper and see if maybe it looks a little more opaque there, or it looks a little more saturated. I'm kind of wishing I had drawn it a little darker. But for this particular sticker that I'm going to work on now, I am going to make it stronger, darker colors. So I am going to work with an actual black, which I rarely do. I really do not do that often. I usually line my stuff with like a dark purple. But this time I'm going to use black. And I'll use my rough ink pen. Make sure the lines are good. Yeah. And I guess it's because of the size of the document. This is lagging. Let me see if there's anything else that I can. I guess I can turn off Wi-Fi. I don't need Wi-Fi. The pen should still work. Yeah. Still chugging along though. Something that I found really helps me, and you're gonna see that sometimes, not just me, but other artists that work digitally, and you might have found yourself doing this too. You'll draw the same light over 1,000 times until you get it right. which, you know, that's fun. But there's something else that you can do, which is just create a new layer on top, so you can move it around and sort of mess with it until you have the line that you want, and then you just merge them. So, oh, that's right, I'm doing this. This is supposed to be symmetrical, so, oh, 3 fingers pull down on the screen, and you get your copy and paste menu. So I'm going to duplicate this, then click here to flip horizontal. Nope. And I'm going to add a symmetrical drawing line. I hope I get it in the center. That should be it. Okay, that's looking good. So, oh, if you squeeze 2 layers together with your fingers or more, it merges them all. That's another neat trick. But in this case, you still have to go and put drawing assist so that it obeys the symmetrical thing. So oh, and something that I forgot to do. Reference, and that way you guys can see the final image without me having to zoom in and out all the time. Actually, for the eraser, I want to use my tapered version of this brush because I want to be able to get more fine details, at least while erasing. The reason why this brush is so resource heavy and why it slows down my iPad is because there's like multiple textures that work on this one. And a lot of settings so that it can still look crisp while still keeping that texture. So I've been wanting to put it up as a free download for some time. I just have to figure out how I'm going to do that because I don't know how to do that. But eventually I'll do that. It'll be a nice little Christmas gift. There we got eyes. Oh, but okay, good. A little bit of asymmetry isn't bad. Okay, so I do want to simplify it. Maybe I shouldn't make the nose that detailed. Maybe that's fine. Same thing with I'm going to lower the opacity of the original one because I kind of want to get a better sense of what our new one's going to look like. I'm liking it so far. Actually, I'll do those little details later. That way I can do some asymmetrical details so it doesn't look too much like I used the symmetry tool. I'm afraid that line might have been a little too dark compared to the other ones that I have. Always picking some of these up. And for that, I'll switch to this one. As a point of reference, right? Not a rule. This isn't a rule. You have all the free roaming area here in the world. But when you do thicker lines in line art and you're not keeping them the same consistent size, just keep in mind that thicker line art gives also more weight to that area. So generally your eye will see it as either an area that is in shadow or being obscured or lower. So if you're going to use different line weights when outlining anything, make it cohesive. If you're just adding different line weights everywhere, it's gonna look like a jumble. It's gonna be hard to understand. You could do that if that's the effect that you're going for. That's just what you want to do. But if you wanted to give it a specific kind of look, if you want to use it as part of the drawing, then I definitely recommend that you keep the thicker lines towards the bottom of whatever it is that you're outlining. And keep areas that are supposed to be on top lighter. Again, not a rule, more of a guideline, just something to keep in mind. Okay, so that definitely looks a little better. The ears aren't standing out a little as much as they were before. And I do want all these lines to close because this is going to be a sticker, so it's going to be a little more, at least for my preference, important to have it all sort of connect. Do I want to do this? Oh, another thing, depending on which side I'm drawing and what the direction of the curves, I like to keep this sort of arc that my arm naturally makes because it'll make the curve better and more natural. So I will switch my drawings between the left or the right side of the symmetrical line for that reason, or I will flip the entire thing upside down. So if this is the first time you're seeing my stuff, I apologize if I make you dizzy. I do tend to move around the canvas a lot. And this is something that I do even in traditional. I will grab my sketchbook and turn it around always. Oh, you know what? As beautiful as those lines were, I want to do them in a different layer. Because I want to be able to maybe erase around it. If there's going to be any lines that don't connect, it's going to be this. And also, I may actually want to color these later on. maybe. And you see those are now on a separate layer. And the rest of it is going to be asymmetrical. So we are going to get rid of our drawing guide. And this is something that I didn't know you also had to do, but you have to go to the individual layer and remove the drawing assist. Otherwise, as you can see here, it's still going to make it symmetrical. Okay. So these are my ears. Let's put these in a different layer and see how they start looking. Those are good enough to merge. That's a compliment for my lines, from me to me. This is going to be the lizard. Liz the lizard. And I'm going to do these in a different layer here at the bottom. I love line weights. This was something that I wasn't used to doing before, and I really wasn't happy with, at least how I would do it. But if you take the time and you really start treating the lines of your work as part of the work and not just lines, you start paying way more attention to what they look like, where they fall, how much information they give the viewer. To me, this is just very satisfying. Nope, not that one. That was not satisfying. Mm. Maybe a little too complex of a line for the when compared to the rest of the drawing. Yeah. Okay, for this I'm definitely going to do a new layer. Oh, quick menus. So quick menus in Procreate, you have to set it up through your settings under preferences. Yeah, I think it's under gesture controls. But basically it allows you to get a separate menu by pressing this little button here on the side. I don't know if you can see it. And I have mine set up because I use that new layer trick a lot. The new layer merging down, new layer merging down. Those are my tricks. So those are the settings that I have on that. You can set it up to whatever you want. You can set it up to select brushes. Right now, flip horizontally, which is really great to help you get the weight on a piece and really see, especially if you're drawing faces, flip your piece horizontally and you'll see how much you've messed up. But for me, I have that. I can turn on my symmetry guide on and off. I just have to check that it doesn't turn on the layer assist. Oh, that's right. These are in two separate layers. Not anymore. So I'm liking how this is coming out, but as you can see, there's this top line is coming out a little too thick. And as I mentioned before, obviously not a rule, more of a guideline, but in this case it does make a difference. If that top line is heavier than that bottom line, to me it just looks weird. That looks better. But still looks like there's some difference in, yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Now a good trick to see if what your eyes are telling you is sure or not, like if you're not sure if you made the line too thick or too thin, mess with it. Especially, it's digital media, you can undo it. So if you think a line is out of place, move it to where you think it should be, and then maybe a little farther, and you'll get to see a really big difference between the two. And sometimes that's enough to kind of like, oh yeah, that's what it is. Or sometimes you get to really move it, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, then you can redraw it or not, but sometimes testing out your gut instinct is a good way to develop it more. And there's no reason you shouldn't be doing that if you're doing digital art, because it's digital and you can do it. It's not like a paper drawing or painting where once you do it, you can't undo it, or undoing it becomes a big problem. So also if you have digital tools, then you can edit it with your, take a photo with your iPad and mess around with it in Procreate. And then you can get a really good sense of if it looks better with a different color or a different composition without having to mess with the original one. There you go. I'm missing that little tuft of hair here at the top. Much better. Yeah. keeping the lizard in a separate layer. I'm keeping the main lines in a separate layer, and I'm keeping the ear hairs in a separate layer. But now that I already finished with the original, I'm actually going to delete that group of layers. I'll just keep this one, because there's really not much of a need to keep the other ones. But I'm gonna move it all the way here to the bottom so I don't confuse it. And what I'll do is I'll create an individual layer of flats for each line that I'm going to color under. So one for under the lizard, another one for under the lines of the cat, and another one for under the ear hairs. If I color around them, I'm not entirely sure if I'll do that. But I will also draw an outline on it afterwards, but this is after I've done it because I really want to use the pink background to help me get a sense of where I'm missing color. So I'll start with the flats for the lizard first. And just to make it easier to tell them apart, I'll do it in blue. But it's a hard eraser brush, but you also get a really nice crisp line on this one, so I'm going to use this. Again, I want to use that color drop function. I don't want to not use it, so I did still leave some open lines on the lizard. That's because the lizard is not the focal point, so for me, aesthetically, it felt like it was okay to do that. Let me erase that. But I do still want to use that drop function, so I'm going to do this. And see, you can easily tell when you go over. And there's an area that I didn't color in. Let's go back to the lines here. Oh. Switch color, switch layer. There we go. Maybe it's easier to just do it in segments. There we go. Am I on time? Alright, cool. I still have another hour and a half. But I will take a break soon. Just because I'm not. It's not good to sit for so long. Not good for you. Oh, yeah, that's what I noticed. So I have it set to change the screen brightness to adjust to nighttime. You can't see it on your end because it doesn't do that, but for me, it is doing it. It's messing with my color. There we go. Ooh, big difference. I didn't even see that. Wow. Alright, come on. And I hear a cat in this room. A presence. Oh, she's on the other side. Okay. There we go. I drew up. And if you're having problems with doing a color drop, maybe it's not coloring every part that you thought it would color, or maybe it's coloring more than what you thought it would color. There is a slider if you hold the tool before dropping the color, like before you let go, that'll allow you to fix the sensitivity of it. So, for example, here I'm going to drop the color, and you can see that menu there at the top, that's the threshold. So I can move that slider to the left or to the right and color more or less. Just for this though, I want it I want it to be fairly high threshold, as high as possible, because I don't want to be leaving jagged lines in between me dropping color in the areas that I've outlined. Ooh, I think I need water. Okay. Okay, so the lizard is colored, and I'm going to use yellow to color the paint. These are not the final colors, although they kind of do look cool. I may keep a version of this. You're going to realize that color drop has a harder time filling in corners, so I don't like to leave them as corners. If you can round them out, that works way better. But hard corners are hard for the program to sort of, to really get all the way filled in. So big tip there when you're working with a color drop, really try to manage your corners. And something like this would actually be a better option. And then going in and individually coloring these little spikes works better. Oh, I did that there. Ooh. Let's do that. Cut and paste. And we're gonna merge it here. There we go. Fixed. I am really liking the colors right now. I've always liked working with print colors. Might make a nice print version of this. Ooh. Bright. That was bright. I dropped that color and my eyes had to adjust. Ooh. I do love those bright colors. I'm gonna leave the ear hairs as is for now. I think that's the last part I'll do. I do want to do a different layer for the eyes. So let's go in with a contrasting color so I can tell them apart. I'm gonna go with this magenta. And I'll do a different one for the nose. And what I'm using to decide how many layers I'm using for the colors, I'm going based on how many textures I want on this, because every layer, every color that's on the same layer, when I use a mask to add a texture to it, or when I use it to create a mask, everything that I select that is on the same layer will show the texture that I choose for that. So if I want a different layer for the eyes, and I want for the hair, and I want for the lizard, then I have to put all those things in a different layer. But if I want the same texture for the eyes and the nose, then I would put that on the same layer. Which is what I'm trying to think about right now, is if I want the nose, or no, I think I'm, just to be safe, I think I'm gonna, I'm learning the new features. I didn't have this one downloaded yet. The update, I mean. There was an update. I think I'm gonna, for now, I think I'm gonna do the nose in a different color. Or with a different texture. So I'm gonna pick a different color and I'm gonna put it in a different layer. So let's keep these nice and named. And this is just me being overly precautious. Just because I don't want to do things on the wrong layer or lose a layer. So this is going to be my eyes. That's not what I wrote, but let's do it. This is the nose. Something creepy somewhere inside. And this is Procreate. And these are flats. I should put flat next to it just to be able to tell that. Let's put a nose. Okay, so everything's in a different layer. Now I'm not so hot about the colors. They don't rarely go well together in my opinion. But this is going to help me put patterns in. So now that I have this, now I can actually erase this or go back to a white. And what I want to do is I'm going to draw an outline for these colors in pink. And this is just something that I'm going to go on based on how I'm going to cut it, because I use a Cricut. And the Cricut is great at cutting, and it gives you a better cut the least amount of sharp points that you add to that. So when deciding on what the cutting line or the cutting outline for the sticker is going to be, I could make it so that it follows the exact shape of the drawing, which I don't want to. And also I have these floating squigglies there, which are going to have to be included in the main sticker. So there's going to have to be some sort of outline larger than the sticker to be able to do that. So I could go and outline each one of these, but then what happens is you get these little points. And when you're telling the Cricut to go around that and cut, it works great if you have a big sticker, but if you have a small sticker, you're going to have a problem. Especially, even if you have brand new blades, I find that it's still not perfect. Could be my old Cricut. I have an old one. It could be my cutting settings. That's just my personal experience. I'd like to go get rid of all that uncertainty and get something that I know I'm going to be okay with. So instead of going around this like that, I'm actually going to do a much bigger circle. Go here. And I'm going to go around like that. Come on. I'm still going to keep relatively close to the actual image, but it's not going to be super close. That's what I mean. Sometimes I accidentally press the screen when I don't mean to. And I want to do that. And they don't have to be the same on the same exact size on both sides, but or follow the same exact curve, even though it is symmetrical. But it should at least be the same distance from the drawing area. So I'm actually gonna close this one in a little bit. There. Okay. So from then on, maybe I would duplicate and flip it horizontal and see if I can make sides match a little bit. I'll lower the opacity to this layer just to see where my two layers overlay or don't match up. So what I'm gonna do is on this one that's at full opacity, I'm gonna take away from here. Maybe I'll add a little here actually. Nope. There. Now here I want this to sort of follow the curve of the ear a little better. This is really messing my keyboard. Let me switch to certain. I'm starting to have pain in my ear from holding it. Okay. So I like how that's looking. So I'm actually going to delete this one now. And do the same thing again. Duplicate. Click horizontal. Alright, opacity on that. And I'm going to add to this. you select an area and then you swipe while holding down with 3 fingers. You go, you shake left and right. It erases whatever you select. Erase a little from here. That's weird. I want to create an ellipse. Should be fine though. Okay. I think these are both of the same opacity. Both at 100%. Cool. And merge. So that's going to be the edge of my sticker. Nice smooth lines around. We want to make some of these a little more. Oops. For the most part, Cricut will smoothen that line out, even though I do have some areas where there's like a little bit of a line where it kind of goes and bumps over. But Cricut does kind of smoothen that out. As long as it's not a clear, very hard angle, it should be okay. Now, after I'm making the background pink, I did it with pink so that I could tell it apart from where the line art was. I'm actually going to do it white. Because I do kind of want to use this to test out. I have transparent sticker paper, and I want to see how well the colors come out of it. So this is going to be a good test for that. So I'm going to go and actually going to use these layer adjustments so I can make it completely white. Brightness to the top and saturation to the bottom. There you go. Now I can work on it like this. It's a little easier. Alright, so this is good for the first part. It is 9:22. I am streaming until 10:30, so right now I'm going to take a quick little break and I will be right back. And I guess after this I'll start adding some patterns. That's going to be fun. So let me just... I picked the color. Oh no, I didn't. I thought I did. Wow. Not smooth. On break. And I will be right back. Yes, let's see, it's a good 9:22. I'll come back at 9:30. No? Okay, 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's gonna make it. Let me plus that. It's gonna be 28 p.m. EST. And I'm gonna be adding textures. That didn't fit. Whoop. Okay. So I'm actually gonna give Ben some time to charge then. Alright, let's. Now, it took so long to write this message. Let's say 9:30. Alright, I'll be back. this here really quick. Okay, so we're gonna add textures. Let's see. For the eyes to start, I guess I'll start with the eyes because I don't want to add textures to the eyes. I want the eyes to sort of stay the same. So instead of adding a clipping mask or a regular mask to the eyes, what I'm going to do is use Alpha Lock. And what that does is it forbids me from drawing or coloring anywhere outside of what I've already colored. And in the meantime, just so it's not too distracting, I'm going to hide all the other colors. So, I didn't explain myself before. This is Bunny. This is my cat that I'm drawing. So I'm gonna try to draw her eyes, which are a slight shade of green. Actually, I'll stick with this gun. Classic. Here we go. I'm gonna start with that color, and I'm gonna use my gouache. Rough. Actually, I'll use my symmetry guide for this. Drawing assist. There we go. And I'm gonna add a bit of yellow. Actually, I'm gonna use this shader. A bit of yellow. And then I go off the deep end. And details for this, I would have to add above because I don't want to disrupt the line art layer. But I also don't want to disrupt the layers I already have, so yeah, that works. Okay. Go back to this. I do want to add a darker color. So I need to do it very smoothly. Sort of blend in. I'm going to pick a color from here. I don't know how much different it is. Nope, not very different. I'm seeing this. Almost forgotten. Let's put a reference. sometimes adding just a little bit of dark behind those highlight areas really makes them pop a little more, so I like to go in and add that. I like the looks of it. I do want to smooth this out a little more. Okay, that's good. So the eyes are done. Okay. So I'm gonna lock this after I remove the assist so that I don't have to worry about accidentally drawing on it. I'm gonna remove the symmetry guide and I'm gonna work on adding texture to the overall hair of it. So this is where you would go and use your clipping mask and not on this layer. On the clip. Okay. So I'll show you how to do that. So I'm gonna go over the layer where that is. I want to pick a texture brush, so let's see. Let's pick something fun, something I probably never use otherwise. Let's try this. And I'm gonna go over it with let's see if I can get some sort of like a giraffe pattern on this. Let's see. Okay. So this layer does have pressure sensitivity, which is kind of nice because it kind of can gradate the pattern out. Make it deeper in the center. That's nice. Let me see if I can make it a larger pattern. Yeah. Oh, this is really lagging now. It's just the size of the brush. Yes, the size of the brush. So let's say I want to just add a pattern like this. And instead of being very meticulous and trying my hardest to stay within the lines, what the clipping mask allows me to do is to add this pattern here. And then once I know where I want the pattern to go over, which is in this case the cat layer, I'm going to make sure the layer with the pattern is right above. I'm going to tap it and add clipping mask. And I don't know if you notice anything happening there. Let's remove it. You can see that here on the side where the pattern went over the layer, you can't see it anymore, right? And that's because it's only showing you the part that's over the layer that you've selected to clip on. You can move it around if you want to. This looks very Lisa Frankish. I kind of like it. But one of the issues with this is you have, in this case, because the layer is transparent, because I'm using just a pattern over a transparent layer, you can see everything that's under, right? So in this case, I would be sort of stuck with whatever color I have under. I could change it now, so once I have that, I could always go to my hue and saturation panel and here sort of mess with whatever color's there. So that's kind of nice because then you can get really creative. So for example, here I lowered the saturation and move it to a pink, and then here I can go to the layer blend settings and put it something that maybe complements the picture a little more. So linear burn probably works better. There we go. So now I have something like that. Now I could do that with a solid color too, and I'm going to show you on that on nose layer. So new layer, clipping mask. And then for this one, maybe I want to go with a darker purple. Oops, not that pattern. Actually, just gonna go with a regular. Oh, that was a little too textured to play around with. And there. And that allows me to sort of draw or paint with whatever color, and then I can move this around if I wanted to. But it basically allows me to mess with the final look of the layer without really disrupting the original layer, which is that flat layer that I made. Here's the back. Okay. Another way that you can add texture is by using masks. So I'm actually gonna erase this one and erase this one. And I'm gonna go with something even more textured. Maybe actually I'll do a couple. So in this case, let's go with let's make him a tabby cat, right? Not tabby, let's go torso. So I'm gonna paint this color first, and you can see that, ooh, this one has like that burn effect on it. I'm not sure if I like that. Let's go with this French. And I'm just gonna overlay all of these on the same layer. And I'm gonna add maybe colored white. And I'm kind of just randomly adding these. There's not much of a say here to where this is going. Okay, so now I have some sort of a look here with that I may want to add to the final thing, right? So let's say that this was an image that I pasted from the internet, and I wanted to go over this pink. So one of the things that I could do is add a mask to it. And the way a mask works, and the reason why it's a feature in a lot of these programs, it comes from the old days of photography when you wanted to develop a picture and you wanted to do photo manipulation the original way, which is you had your negatives, and let's say you would put tape or cover some of the areas that you didn't want it to show. You would mask it, and then you would develop that photo, and then you would get another photo and mask the other areas around and just develop that portion so it would show through the original photo that you developed. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself properly or not. I hope. If not, you can always look for this stuff up on the internet. But that was one way to do it. There was another way too, where you can develop a photo, and let's say you wanted maybe one part not to really show through very well, and you, as it was developing, you could go over it with a wand, with maybe like a big black piece of cardboard, and sort of wave it around, and all of those areas that you covered wouldn't develop, so the image would only show around that on the final photo paper. So that's another way to do traditional photo editing. And traditional, I mean traditional, before the advent of computers. So that was one way to do it. So in this case, what you're doing is something very similar is this is the original and you want to hide certain parts from showing through to the final piece. So what I'm going to do is, well, really quickly, anything that's in white is what's going to show. If anything that's on black will be hidden. So you work on the mask layer with white, black, or you could also use grays, but all you're doing at that point is using an opacity, change in opacity of that layer. So it's easier to work with black and white. So what I'm going to do here really quickly is I'm going to select that cat layer. And that's going to create a selection around the area that I colored. I'm going to invert that selection. So is that what I'm doing? Yes, I'm going to invert that selection so that now I can draw on the area outside of that. And I'm going to switch to black. And now I'm going to use the biggest brush I can. And I'm going to paint. I'm painting with black over where the layer is. The mask layer is. Now, what's the difference between using this and using a clipping mask? When you use a clipping mask, it relates specifically to the layer under. But let's say you want to keep that layer under, you don't want to hide it, you want to move it. Actually, let me edit that. And let's say you don't want to use all of the layer that you have above. You erase it. You could. You could actually, for example, in Bunny's case, she has some areas of white here. So let's say, well, I don't want to keep this. I want to keep these areas in white. Right? You could erase it, but if you erase it and you change your mind last minute, or maybe you don't like how close the edge is, you want to move it a little further down, you've lost that original image if you've erased it. With a mask, you're actually keeping that original data in the layer. So, wrong layer. I'm going to select the mask. I'm going to... Oh, okay, I see what... Okay, I'm going to paint over here. And this layer is now showing through. Meanwhile, I'm still keeping this layer there. And in fact, I can move that original layer around and it'll keep the shape that I cut it to. Or I can move the mask around. No, I can't. No. Oh, I don't know why I thought you can move the mask separate from... Never mind. I thought you can move the mask separate from it. You can't. But you could also use, in addition to this, you can use a clipping mask. So you can use all of these in a group and actually group up both effects. Let me actually make this. Right. Perfect. So that's one way you can use the clipping mask. Another way to use a clipping mask, which is what I was showing the kids at the school when I volunteered, and actually I'll go back to one of those pieces that we were working on there. So in this case, these are two images that we put together. The original one for the bird is this one. and we created a mask around it, so then the background shows through. And the reason why this was really helpful in this case is because if you're using a nice sort of soft brush, go there, brushing, there we go. As you're hiding things from the original image, you can keep a lot of that really soft edge. And when you're doing photo manipulations, this is really good for helping it make the transition between the images a little more believable. So here, for example, I'm gonna select this, and if I were to cut, I would get something similar to that, and you can still see that edge around it. Now I could cut even more. But now my edge can be a little too hard and too straight, and that won't look the same way either. So with a mask, and I'm already using a mask, with a mask I could come in with a softer brush and really slowly sort of take away at the edges of the image. And there you go, you start erasing. The edges are so much softer, and that looks a lot more natural than cutting it out. So using layer masks is really, really good for photo manipulations. It can be a little daunting to work with and can be a little difficult, especially if you have a hard time remembering which color to use to sort of hide and which one to reveal. But it's something that you can get a handle of by playing around with it a lot. Especially if you like to make really silly manipulations. This is my daughter's work, which I find is really cool. Obviously, though, it does help you to use very high quality images when you're doing this, because it does make it look much nicer. But it's not something that you have to use just for photo manipulations. Is something that you can also use when doing digital art or digital illustrations. So actually, I think I'm going to select this again. No. Oh, I see what's happening. It was color filling. So I'm going to select, go back to here, and I'm going to show those areas again. Because I do like that look. Nope, and I go back to black. Yep. I did like how this came out. And I'm gonna change the nose a little bit. And I'm gonna add my details up here on the top. Maybe I'll keep that. That looks a little better. So I'm gonna add it on top of all the layers, and I'm gonna add another layer here for the ear hairs. And I'm gonna use a tapered one. And I like that, so I'm going to duplicate that. The horizontal. There. Hmm. Okay. And these are going to go together. And another thing that I wanted to add was whiskers. Feels. Well, I should do that with the symmetry. And I'm going to do time assist. Hmm. I think it should be at the top. There. I'm not sure if I should leave them like that or not. I feel like maybe. Let's see. And I'm going to remove the drawing assist. Remove the symmetry guide. And I think I want to move these down a little bit. Okay, that looks better. And I'm going to add, I'm going to put this as a clipping mask. And I'm going to put this one as a clipping mask too. And I'm going to add some effects here. I want to add some more white on the ears. Use this brush. I really like this brush. Okay, let's just add maybe a little bit of the look of the white hairs in the ear. I think, yeah, I like how it looks. I'm gonna duplicate that, flip it horizontal, move it to the other side, merge it down. Let me do something similar here with these. Yeah. And I'll do it in a different layer, so I'm gonna another mask in between. I don't have to set it as a clipping mask. Actually, this one. Duplicate it. Flip it. Duplicate it a couple times. I'm gonna use this, maybe take some of the effect here. No, not all. Some of it, not all of it. Same thing right here. I really like that look right now. Like, really digging it. With all those mixed in patterns. I think it looks really cool. I'm gonna use another clipping mask layer, but I'm gonna set this one to color burn. I'm gonna put 50 and I'm gonna pick one of the colors here. And I'll use this for shading. And because the cat itself is symmetrical, I'm also going to use a drawing assist and keep that symmetry there. And I'm trying not to make it look like um dark circles here, but first I gotta add the color. This is a very tired cat. Actually, that's not bad. Let me add some green. So it complements the eye there a little bit. And now I'm gonna erase the same brush, a little softer. And actually a little bigger. And then from there, I'm gonna use this smudge tool. Darling.
Yeah.
This is you. This is some other cat. Hmm?
You're just making a bunch of cat.
Oh. So nice and warm right now. You were sleeping and you got woken up. Huh? Oh. You want to go back to sleep? Just like her eyes are closing. Here. You want to go sleep? Okay, go sleep. Okay. Let me just add other. Trying to see what color works best here, because that purple works better on one of those brown spots, but not on pink. So let's see, maybe okay, yeah, that's good. Ooh, too purple. It's difficult to do this with layer blend modes. It would probably be easier to do it with individual colors, or actually maybe. I think that may be the best effect. It's not as drastic with color changes, but it's okay. I'm not sure if I want to do a lighter nose here, maybe. No, oops, not clipping mask. Alpha lock, there you go. And just give some dimension to the nose here. Okay, so this can all go in one layer. This is going to be cat. And we can do an entire different layer for the lizard. And I still have 15 minutes. I think I can do it. So let's go and add. Let's make not neon green, but I want her eyes to match. So let's add. Oops, didn't mean to do that. See if I can add a pattern with some of these textures here. First, this sort of texture. And this will create a nice little gradient. And right now I'm just tapping the screen. I'm not even brushing. There we go. Actually, that's not bad. I didn't realize I still have my symmetry on. It's a very textured look. I do like that. Let's add another layer to this texture. Let's add this, and I'm gonna put this at different blending mode. I'm gonna merge that. Now let's go to, no, actually it's not bad. Let's see what some splashes make it look. Let's get creative with this texture. And I'm gonna change the layer mode to this one. Let's texture again. I'm gonna leave it there though. I'm not gonna put it in a different layer yet. I mean, I'm not gonna merge it down yet. Let's see what else here. Organic. Look, those are big cross hatching. That's certainly something. I'm not sure if it's something I like, but it's something. Okay, maybe. Industrial, maybe. Oh, I can't listen to the song. I've heard it too many times. Alright. I'm sure there was a scales pattern. I don't think there is. At least, you know, nothing. Don't think that's close to what I wanted. Oh, let's try that. That kind of works. Okay, so I'm gonna add that in a different one. Let me actually hide this one. Let's see what layer blending modes will do to this. I don't like that color. Alright, let's see here. Let's group all of these. Can I duplicate it? Do I have layers allowed? I do. Okay. Let's flatten this. And use a clipping mask here. Ooh, I do like that. I do. Actually, that works better. Now that I have it there, I can add some nice shading. Let's add it with this one. Let's make this a foreground layer, maybe? That's not color burn. There it goes. Just realized this is a very thick lizard. Oh, those are bright colors. Actually, lower that a little bit because I feel like it may be a little too much. That's good. Maybe I'll do some highlights the same way. Ooh. just adding some highlights that just to sort of outline the current shading on it. It's just to make it pop. I am satisfied with this. I do like the look of this as a with the calico cat. Oh, I'm missing a signature. It is 10:24, so we're getting there. Might as well sign off. And thank you guys for joining me. And thank you to those that are watching this after. From the recorded version, I appreciate you joining. That's not where that goes. Let's undo those paint strokes. Got a clipping mask there. And group all of these. And delete that. And add this. And now I have to go do that. There we go. Nope, no clipping mask. There we go. That's right. Ooh. I'll have to finish that or redo it again later, make it tighter, cleaner. But I really like this fierce cat. Can I add a sticker to this fierce cat? Because that's what I think I'm doing. It's kind of makes a little. Alright. So, thanks to anybody that watched again. I'm going to be doing these on Tuesdays at 8 for now. It's going to be the current schedule. I may actually switch to streaming only on Twitch. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how that goes. I'm still using Restream. Not too happy with it. But I'm not willing to pay for the paid version, so I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you can join me again next Tuesday, and again, send me some questions. If you have any questions on Procreate, anything you want me to see, you can email me at gibbygabs@gmail.com. Or follow me in social media, although I haven't posted in a while. I've been really bad with that. But I'll start posting some stuff soon, because I have been doing a lot of work, and I think I've been doing more work than I have been posting, and that's not a bad problem to have, because I don't rely on social media as much as I used to. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll be on again next week.